I'm here today with one of our guest presenters for the upcoming 2019 CLCA conference, which will be in Richmond, BC on October 24th, on October 25th, sorry, and for that weekend. And today with me, I have Bryna Sampey, who is a doula and IBCLC of Doula My Soul. And she will be speaking to us about one primitive reflexes and breastfeeding, as well as using movement and vibration to facilitate breastfeeding. And I'd like to take a moment to appreciate time that she's given us. And we're going to have a chat just to kind of get to know our speakers. She's our first speaker that I will be interviewing and sharing amongst social media for all the delegates of the conference so that we can get to know the speakers and get a little excited about. So welcome, Bryna. Hi.
Hi, thank you for having me. I'm so excited to be here and chat with you and come in October. I'm looking really forward to it.
Yeah, hopefully we have some nice, shiny fall BC weather. We're known to have some really gorgeous fall weather up in BC.
That's exciting.
Yeah, it is. I just want to let the delegates know what kind of led you to the path of becoming a doula and then your journey into becoming an IBCLC.
They happened simultaneously. So before I did this work, I was in marine chemistry. So I'd like to say that now I talk to humans. But I really do love science. I really love chemistry. I really love the way, like finding out why things work the way they do. I am totally that person that you come across that won't do anything until you've explained all of the reasons why you need to do what we're asking you to do. That's definitely me. And when I had my daughter, I was kind of already, like during my pregnancy, ever the researcher, I went really heavy, deep, and real into researching pregnancy and birth and breastfeeding, and I got really, really excited about it. And so I kind of jumped ship from marine chemistry over into birth and lactation. And I am so grateful that my lactation consultant wasn't immediately put off by, like, I basically attacked her with questions. It's like, I have so much to talk to you about. She was like, okay.
Just like, wow, these are big questions.
Yeah, and she wasn't intimidated at all. She was just an angel, and she became my mentor, IBCLC. She's like, you could do this, and here's how. And it was before there were any programs. I was pathway F back when we had, A through F, all the different lettered pathways. And so I took my college course credits, and then I took, from science, my sciences, and then I took a bunch of doula trainings, and then I took a CLC training, and I haven't stopped taking trainings ever since. So, but I love it. I love this work. I love what we do. I love figuring out new things to help people. I like reading research studies to try to find out new keys to common problems that we are just seeing that are not really unsolvable, but are tricky to solve, Mm-hmm. And that's exactly how I got into this, sort of reflexes and vibration and movement. It was just because we were seeing a lot of cases that were really difficult to manage. And so with more tools become more options. And so that's exactly what led me down that pathway too.
I think that is so interesting that you have a marine chemistry science background. I think that definitely can speak to some of the expert areas that you have, how it is a science-based expertise of the reflexes, the neurology, the function and of the little neonate and the baby and the mom as well too. I love seeing how we in the IBCLC world blend so many different backgrounds of the IBCLCs, and we tie it into the research. We tie it into our practice, and it just continues to build from there. And you see that from all different professions. And that is actually one of our themes of this CLCA conference is how do we the multidisciplinary background and how it really boosts the lactation world when everybody brings to the table their expertise and helps families, especially in those difficult situations, find a way to meet their breastfeeding without to lose out on being able to have that amazing experience of breastfeeding. So I also think it's neat because background too. I mean, so when I was doing my IBCL training, there was many references to animals and and like their lactation, and they compare it to to human lactation as well too. We also look a lot at the behaviors of animals and their child rearing and breastfeeding and compare it to humans as well too. That's really interesting.
I
So
love it, and it's such a nascent field that like it's so perfect for a multidisciplinary approach because we do, like you said, we all bring so much to the study, and it really is a lot of study. It's like we are animals, and so I think we like to forget that as much as we can. We like to sort of divorce ourselves from the mammalian background that mammal's gonna mammal. Like that's what we are and that's what we do. And so when we kind of, I think we always benefit from going back to basics and
yes.
looking at where we start and then growing from there. Because if we don't have an essential strong foundation, then we can't build really at all. And so I think that multidisciplinary approach and looking at other mammals, I mean, I think that gives us that really excellent foundation to be able to grow and develop our practices individually and as a global team.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So how did you acquire the special skills and knowledge on the vibration and movement to facilitate the breastfeeding diet?
So training, yeah. I did a bunch of, actually, I read a bunch of research first because I heard about it at a talk at a conference. Somebody had mentioned rhythmic movement. I think it was Allison Hazelbaker in one of her talks. And so then I went and I looked it up and I was like, well, this is for adults and for older children. Like, I don't know what she means. And then I learned about the reflexes, the primitive reflexes. And so that really piqued my interest. And, I went from there into taking a rhythmic movement training course. And then I took the next level. And then in order to be certified, you have to take levels 1 and 2 twice, and then the level 3. So that I've done all of those levels. And then I've worked with infants, which is not the primary population for this training. So then I've had to do a ton of extrapolation with neurobiology research and attending, neurobiology conferences that have nothing to do with breastfeeding.
Wow.
So we'll see, hopefully I can get some of those written up on my taxes. We'll see. But regardless, I think that we have so much to learn about neurobiology. Talk about brand new. Like there's so much on the forefront coming there, talking about the molecular interlayer neurons and the cerebral motor cortex and like motor planning and learning. And it's all infant development. So I just spent a lot of time being curious and diving down rabbit holes on science journal websites. But
that rabbit hole that can get so deep when you start going down it in this research.
Really deep. Yes. And then I'm like, this isn't real. This is made up. Like, how it is, like, brain research is wild. It is wild. So, and I'm really lucky to have a couple of neurological researchers as friends who are at a local research hospital. So they're really patient while I bounce my theories off of them. And they're like, we don't know the answer to any of your questions.
Well,
so I think we have a lot to learn.
Exciting though, to have theories, thoughts, and questions to the scientists that they're unsure. It's an open field of further learning and exploring and being part of something new when, it's 2019 and we think we kind of know almost everything about the human being. It's been studied for centuries. But, oh, there's just so much to know. And I think that's really great that you are connected to a field that has a bit of a blank slate at this time.
It's so exciting.
Yeah, it is. How do the families, how do they react when you're kind of talking to them about some of these, just even the basics of the infant reflexes, and you're trying to point them out to them and encourage to build off the breastfeeding skill from the neonate reflexes? How do the families take that?
Surprisingly well. I think there's a lot of training for lactation consultants around how we need to not overwhelm families, which is true. When you've just had a baby,
Right.
I can't remember who said it, but I love it. It's that you're in limbic brain, right? You're in lizard brain. You really can't do a lot, and
Mm-hmm.
it's true. A lot of your advanced logic systems shut down. So learning isn't something that's really you're designed to be able to do postpartum. So we do want to be careful for that, but those systems come back online pretty quickly.
Mm-hmm.
And when you are pointing out, like, oh, do you see this? Oh, yeah, baby does that all the time. Yeah, that's a reflex. That's your baby's brain doing just what it should. Like, here's how to know things are going well. And I think people love that because they always
Yes.
worry a lot,
Mm-hmm.
and so
Yeah.
it relieves a lot of anxiety. In addition, I think they're curious too. We're curious creatures. And
Mm-hmm.
so one of the things that it's really nice to be able to give some people some tools to show them how to elicit reflexes. And Einstein said, if you can't explain something really simply, then you don't understand it well enough. So
I love that.
reducing the explanations to as simple as possible is always a daily challenge. And that's, it's one that I really love as an educator too, because obviously I educate adults, but I also do prenatal education and parenting education. And that's one of my total loves. And so it's always fun to try to figure out how to explain it so that it makes sense to the postpartum mind.
Yes.
So,
The
but
foggy
pretty
brain
well.
of the,
Yes.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I
So.
find, and it takes years to recover from that foggy brain sometimes.
Yeah,
if,
I
if
think
we
so.
are really recover, I think. And
Yeah.
so, and when it comes to some of the families that have had some difficulties with getting breastfeeding going, and then you've used some of the rhythmic movement with them, or the vibration, or if they tie together, really,
Mm-hmm.
what has stood out to you as one of those great successes? Like, is there a certain family that just you really wowed you with how well those techniques and that knowledge and that kind of support from you, how it?
Totally. There's lots. So, like, the reason I even started talking about this at conferences, because I've only been at this since 2006, and then I was certified as an IBCLC in 2010. So I've got my horrible test next year. So I haven't been at this long. And so the only reason that I started talking is because I got asked to talk by a lot of other lactation consultants who wanted to do what I was doing because of
Mm-hmm.
those successes. It was just these cases that just everything seems like it's going well, but it's still not working. Like, something is still not working. This was the key to unlock a lot, not all of them, of course, but a lot of those really complex cases. And so I had one family that they stood out the most just because they were such an interesting family. Mom was really anxious and it was really important to her to get breastfeeding off to a really good start. It hadn't gone well with her previous kiddo, and so we did the movements, and the baby had a tongue tie, so we managed that as well. And I spent a lot of time doing tongue tie stuff in my clinic as well. And so we kind of married the movements and the aftercare for tongue tie and the vibration all together, and it worked beautifully. They
Wow.
went from having a huge significant struggle to feeding really well, and then everything kind of fell off. They stopped doing all their stuff around 6, 7, 8 months because baby's bigger, everything's fine. And then as soon as they stopped doing the movements, about 2 weeks after, I get a call, and she said, we stopped doing those movements, and it's hard again. And I said, oh, interesting. You know, that's interesting. Will you tell me more about that? And so we, they came back in and we did some more movements, and then things improved, and over time things improved. And finally, after a year, they were able to stop doing movements and be fine. But it took a long time to kind of repattern. Yeah, and that's consistent with the research we have in neurological repatterning, and it takes a long time. It's like, I say, it's like walking a path through long grass. So the first time you do it, the grass will bend, but it'll stand back up, and you won't be able to see where you came. But if you walk that path every day for a year, you'll have a nice, solid pathway. And that's how the brain works too.
That's a fabulous way of explaining it. That goes back to that Einstein quote, make it sound that simple to explain it to me. Bringing neurobiology down to a simple explanation so that we all can understand. That is definitely something really exciting. And just listening to you and how you were able to bring that family, I probably have many stories to say, from a challenging breastfeeding experience to a more successful breastfeeding experience. It just, all these cases in the back of my head just start dinging in the history of with them, and thinking, oh wow, I wish, I can't wait to learn about the rhythm and the movement so that I can help these families, and maybe even contact some of them to help change that direction for them, because this could be literally the missing piece. And I think some of the delegates who are listening, I'm sure after they listened to this excerpt and their description about it, are probably going to have some of those bells going off in the back of their head, about how this can really help family. And I love that this is the beginning of opening up neurobiology and the IBCLC world as well too. And once we start seeing the effectiveness of bringing in that type of science into our practice, uh, now we can become really skillful in so many different areas and really make things work for these families.
Totally. The possibilities are endless. I really hope I can convince some of these neuroscientists to become IBCLCs, because I think that would be really wild. And so I wonder, I don't know if we have any. I'm sure somebody somewhere, hopefully, but it would be really cool to see, that the collaboration of those fields more and more.
Yeah, no, that would be really, really interesting. I know that sometimes there's a lot of IBCLCs that are speech language pathologists, or maybe a physiotherapy background, really bring a really different body anatomy, physiology built to the breast. And I find when you attend those webinars or speaker conferences, it really brings to life some of what you're seeing when you have mom and baby in front of you. You're like, I get it. It is, it brings it to life. So that's exciting. I just think that we are so fortunate, Bryna, to have you coming. I am looking so forward to learning about this. I really hope that while you're at the conference as well too, that you gain some skill and knowledge from some of the other speakers. Get everyone listening to stay tuned as well too. As over the next few weeks, I have the interviews lined up with the other speakers so that we can all kind of get a sense of some of the background of our presenters. So thank you very much, Bryna.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I'm so excited to see the other interviews too. So thank you for doing this. This is a really wonderful idea.
Yeah, thank you. All right, I'm going to stop.